right. So our guest today is Mike Criscolo from the Office of Higher Ed, who's going to talk about student loan forgiveness. And I know that that's an issue for lots of early educators. So we've already done the interpretation. We are recording, and this will be saved on the YouTube site. So let me introduce Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with Early Care Connection in regard to the student loan reimbursement program. And I'll emphasize that it is a reimbursement program and not a forgiveness program. And the difference is that the reimbursement requires payments to be made towards a student loan towards post-secondary education. So if you want to go to the next slide, please.
Ava, can you go to the next slide?
I did.
Oh, it must be a lag in it.
It doesn't look like it yet.
Huh. I did have to reboot because last time my screen froze, which is weird.
Okay.
What I see is program overview.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
let me
while it's
stop and
rebooting,
start again. I'm sorry, guys, but
problem.
let's see what's going on here. Let's stop again. Sorry, all that's on me with technical difficulties with my internet.
Alyssa, can you share the Spanish version in the chat?
Okay.
There we go.
Did that fix it?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay. So in 2024, the state legislature passed the student loan reimbursement program. And the program is funded at $6 million per year. And what it does is if first of all, it's a first come, first served basis. We have a database that's set up called CT Scholars that's very user friendly, and applicants can apply through our database and receive up to $5,000 per year for 4 years. Our initial award period was from January 1st, 2024 until June 30th, 2020, January 1st, 2025 to June 30th. And we had approximately 2,000 applicants, and we awarded 500 students $1.5 million during that time. And we had remaining funding. So we went to the state legislature and the Office of Policy and Management, and they allowed us to extend the 2025 award year from July 1st until December 31st, 2025, which is fantastic because we do have remaining funding, and we are able to leave the application open and active from now until December. And at that point, we'll have a 2026 award period, and we'll open up a brand new application. So as long as the state legislature continues to support, pass, and most importantly, budget for the student loan reimbursement program, we will run those reimbursements for our graduates in Connecticut. So you have to, in order to be eligible, you'd have to attend a Connecticut public or private institution. Originally, it was for bachelor's and associate's degrees, but we were able to expand that to advanced degrees. So we're including the master's level awards starting on July 1st, which is a major win for us. you have to be able to provide a diploma from a Connecticut institution as part of your application process. There is an opportunity for you to be granted a waiver if you had financial or medical circumstances that prevented you from completing your degree. You would have to have been in good standing with the institution. You can also qualify if you have a Title 20 Department of Labor license or certification in Connecticut. You would still have to have related training to that certificate or license through an institution of higher learning or an accredited private occupational school such as Lincoln Tech or Porter and Chester, and that would make you eligible as well. This year, as we all probably are aware, Stone Academy had closed in December of 2024, leaving a lot of students out in the cold, and they had an option to transfer or apply for a loan forgiveness and a discharge of a loan. So the legislature added into the student loan reimbursement program a $5,000 up to $5,000 award for Stone students who are in a practical nursing program from November of 2021 until February of 2023. The requirements are they could not have completed the program. They did not participate in a teach out or comprehensive exam. You had to discharge your loans within a minimum of 6 months, and you have not received a loan discharge because of applying for the student loan reimbursement program. So if a student who went to Stone meets that criteria, they can receive up to $5,000 through the student loan reimbursement program. One of the requirements is that you would have to have made a student loan payment in the year prior. So for the 2025 year, you would have to have made a payment towards your loan during 2024. In 2026, it'll be for loan payments made in 2025. The Office of Higher Education can only pay what the amount that was paid towards the loan during that previous year. So if you paid over $5,000, you'll get 5,000. Anything under 5,000, you'll get that amount back. Next slide, please. One of the things the legislature wanted to do was sort of encourage volunteer hours. So they put into the law that each participant had to have volunteered for 50 hours. And originally it was a Department of Consumer Protection facility. We found that to be difficult during the first award period. So we went to the higher ed committee and they decided to, from now on, it's going to be a volunteer organization that is a 501c3 organization. And the only proof that would need to be supplied was the determination letter from the IRS. So instead of chasing down Department of Consumer Protection credentialing numbers, which was very difficult through their website, we shifted gears and we are now at just, you have to be a 501c3 and those hours count. We also added to it for this year that you could be a volunteer firefighter or an EMS and you could qualify. If you were a student, then, and you had to take, let's say, a clinical rotation, which you're not getting paid, but it's a requirement towards the degree, then those hours can now be counted. And it's worth noting that the volunteer hours are valid for 2 years retroactively. If you serve the military, or you're in the armed forces, You may also qualify from the time that you serve. So 50 hours, commanding officer or an authorized agent of your branch of the military can sign our volunteer form, have it notarized, and submit that. And our veterans and any active military personnel can use that for their qualifier. We are working with the legislator. They built into um, the language for this year that you can receive a waiver. And the criteria for receiving a waiver of completing your 50 volunteer hours is of medical condition, which has to be documented by your healthcare provider and uploaded into the database I referred to before, CT Scholars. You can only use it once your volunteer hours. So if you receive the award for 2025 and you volunteered 50 hours in 2024, for the 2026 award year, you would have to have another 50 hours or apply for a hardship waiver. Next slide, please. So the criteria for eligibility is that a single tax filer has to have an adjusted gross income of $125,000 per year or less. And if you are a joint filer, it's $150,000 or less. And originally we had the Connecticut 2025 award year, we were using the 2023 Connecticut tax form, which became problematic. Not everyone filed those taxes. So we went to our legislative body and they agreed that we would change it to the 2023 federal tax form for the 2025 award year. As I stated before, you would have to submit a copy of your college diploma or professional license, which is under Title 20, a Title 20 approved DOL certificate or license. And you also have to fill out a W-9 form, which is because there is tax implications. The CT vendor form created a lot of confusion. The only reason you need to sign and date a Connecticut vendor form is because that's how payments are generated. So if you're not an approved vendor with the comptroller's office with the state of Connecticut, you won't be able to receive the reimbursement. So both the W-9 and the vendor form are going to be automatically populated and available to you once you begin your application in our database. And I just want to emphasize there is a volunteer form that needs to be notarized. It's fairly simple. The first part of it is your information as the applicant. The second part is the organization's representative who can verify the hours. And then those hours are notarized and submitted, and you meet those eligibility criteria. So every applicant who's looking for reimbursement is going to have to submit their student loan statement, which would have their name and account number on it. And then they also have to provide a student loan history document, which shows payments that were made, individual payments that were made towards your student loans during that previous year. Like I said before, reimbursement, we're basing that number on the student loan history for your reimbursement amount. Next screen, please. Next slide, sorry. So there's a lot of information thrown at you. I can answer questions for you now. This is my contact information. You can email me or you can send it to, we do have a team. We have a 4-person team who's working on this project. And that OHE.slrp@ct.gov. And any questions that you have, you can send that over to myself or to our team at OHE. That's a lot of information, a little bit of time, but if anyone has questions for me, I'll look in the chat.
I'll just kick it off really quickly. I'm still a little confused about the vendor ID. What does the vendor ID do?
A vendor ID is, it's the applicant will just need to put their name, address, sign and date, and it goes to the comptroller's office. The comptroller's office will enter in and give a vendor ID number or a vendor code, you may hear it referred to. That is sent back to us. We enter it into our system, and then we make payments through CORE, the state payment processing system. The only way you can be paid is if you have a vendor ID set up. Because you run everything through CORE, and it goes, these payments go directly to the applicant. They don't go to the school. So it's truly up to the applicant what they use the $5,000 or up to $5,000 per year for.
So if I'm most of the providers, well, the audience is childcare directors and owner operators who are on this call today, this webinar. But if any of them were to pass on this information to one of their customers, the parent, to take advantage of this, ignore that they're being called vendor, because anyone who wants to get reimbursed just needs to create this vendor ID.
Right. The vendor is, it's the applicant. And that's just the way that the state system is set up in order to receive payments from CORE. So
a lot of our
There is some-
childcare providers and owner operators, in order to get paid their bonuses during the COVID pandemic, created a vendor ID. Do you know, with the comptroller's office, do you know if they have to recreate a new one, or once you create a vendor ID with the comptroller's office, it's one and done?
it's each applicant. So it's not the organization. It has nothing to do with, so each person that applies for the program would need their own vendor ID.
Yeah, but do you know if you had a previous vendor ID with the comptroller's office, if that counts, or do they have
Yeah.
to recreate a new vendor ID?
No, once you have it in there, as an example, we have the Roberta Willis Scholarship Program, and that's run through our system. So if you have a vendor ID for Roberta Willis and then you apply for the student loan reimbursement program, then you're all set. You're already in the system for payments. You don't have to
Okay.
recreate a new vendor form.
So educators who are on this call or listening later, if you received money during the COVID pandemic and one of the requirements through the Office of Early Childhood was to create a vendor ID with a comptroller's office to get paid, if you did get paid and you created that vendor ID, you can use that ID in order for this program for reimbursement.
I think that'll probably only work if you were a family child care provider and you don't have an LLC or a business.
Good point.
ID. Because if you were a business and now you're trying to do this as an individual, you'll need to have a new vendor ID.
That's a good point, because it's the individual, not the business account. It's a very good point.
I see a couple of questions.
Yeah, let's see what we
I
got
have
here.
loans. I have completed my master's of public administration this past January. I have loans. Do I qualify? As long as you completed the Master of Public Administration at a Connecticut public or private institution of higher learning, then you would qualify. Out-of-state
making
institutions
payments.
do not meet that criteria.
And you have to be making loan payments because this is a loan reimbursement, not a loan forgiveness.
Absolutely. In the immediate year preceding the award year. So for 2025, you had to make payments in 2024. The first year that was a stumbling block just because people were in deferment or they were in the SAVE program. So when they learned of the program, they submitted payments just to get reimbursement. Some people didn't recognize that, and they had lower than they anticipated reimbursement. But now that the word is out on the program, we're anticipating to receive more reimbursements up to the maximum 5,000. Is this for state employees only? No, the the application is open to anyone in the public who meets the criteria. Are they, did they graduate from a Connecticut public or private institution with a diploma? Have they made payments? Did they do their volunteer hours? And did they complete their W-9, their vendor form? Then you're eligible. I don't see any more questions in here that I missed.
There's two in the chat. Sometimes that happens. There was one asking, let's see, let me just scroll back here.
I see one in the Q&A about if I attended school for a bachelor's degree in another state, but now work in Connecticut. That does not qualify, does it?
No, it has to be from a Connecticut public or private institution of higher learning. Or if you received a certificate or a license and you did your training at one of our private occupational schools. Like I said before, the Lincoln Techs, the Porter and Chester, there's so many, I think there's 50 or 60 that are approved, that are accredited in the state of Connecticut. Stone Academy was one of those at one
The one
point.
in the chat you answered basically. So Leslie wanted to know, is this only for state employees? Is this
No.
program? You mentioned core. So no, it's not just for state employees. I'm not sure if you want to go back to core and the details of core again.
It's just
Or just this is how we pay reimbursement directly to the applicants. That's all. We don't, other programs that we run, the grant or the scholarship is paid to the institution and applied to the financial aid packages. This is completely different. You have completed your training. You're now paying off your student loans. So the money is going to go right through the core system, hard copy check to every eligible applicant.
Okay, and then Tracy, again, you did answer this, but just Tracy Smith, if you're still out there listening, as long as your Master's of Public Administration this past January was here in the state of Connecticut, let's say you were in an online program. If the online program is in an accredited school here in Connecticut, then yes, you can qualify.
So
Yes, absolutely.
There's a question in the question answer about, can you clarify the timing of the volunteer work? Is it too late to volunteer for 50 hours for reimbursement for 2024 payments? So does the volunteer work and the payments have to happen in the same year?
No, so we're still in the 2025 award year. It's been extended from July 1st to December 31st. So if someone does not have their volunteer hours, then they can begin today, get their 50 hours in, and then apply when those hours are done. It said the beginning language was, if you completed your hours after January 1st of 2024, including 2025. We did that just for this year because it's the new program and we didn't want to shut people out. And so we extended 24-25 for this year. In 2026, it'll be volunteer hours for 2025. So right now, we're working on our database to open it up, the application period in late July, and we'll put a banner on our website, and you could go in and apply and start your application while you're doing your volunteer hours. And then once your volunteer hours are done, you complete the volunteer form, have it notarized, submit it into CT Scholars, our database, and you'll be eligible. We still have over $4.5 million for disbursement for 2025. So there is time for you to do your volunteer hours.
Michael, our Early Care Connection is sponsored by a small handful of groups that Meryl, myself, and Izzy represent. We are all nonprofits and oftentimes have moments where we ask for volunteers and engagement. Can you clarify a little bit more on what kind of volunteering qualifies? Because I'm curious, as you know, Childcare for CT or the Early Childhood Alliance, if providers, directors who are on this call volunteer and do some advocacy work, if we could sign off some of those volunteer hours on their behalf in order to qualify for this loan reimbursement.
Yes, absolutely. It's essentially self-reporting, and like I said, there's 3 sections. So the applicant would fill out the first section, the organization would fill out the second, and just say, Mike Friscola volunteered for 50 hours, and to take it to a notary, and just the Connecticut notary standards now allows you to have documents notarized virtually, which is fantastic. And you can have that notarized and submitted. And as long as there's a 501c3 determination letter from the IRS, then we approve it.
Okay, well, providers, Meryl, myself, and Izzy, we will look into what we need to do for our organizations, maybe some conversations with our board to see if we could be some of the purveyors of that document. That would be exciting.
Yeah, it's a great program. There's actually very few set up on as a reimbursement, and we're getting calls from other states wanting, an overview of this. This isn't the first time I've discussed this with a group, and it's popular, and it's got bipartisan support, which we know is not always easy, and it's funded. So we would love to get the word out, and if anyone has questions, please reach out to me or my office, and we could help you through the application process. It is a lot. There's seven pieces of materials that have to be submitted. The application is fairly easy. It's right through our database, and then you could just upload documents. And then once you're done, we review. And then if everything is in, we go ahead and we finalize and make you an eligible recipient. And then once a month, we issue payments. And we'll do that up until either the funds are exhausted or we meet our deadline in December.
What is the max for the type of education? Anonymous said, what is the highest level of education you can receive with this reimbursement?
It's any advanced degree, PhD, doctorate, master's in early childhood, I see here, absolutely qualifies from a Connecticut institution. And don't forget that if for some reason you were not able to complete the educational component, there is an opportunity for you in the application to click hardship request and upload a document that is from a medical provider, or if you had a financial hardship and you left the school in good standing, then we can waive that educational piece. They're reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Any new?
A website?
I'm sorry?
Is there a website about the program? If somebody wants.
Yes, it's our ct.ohe website, and I will give you that exact.
Okay.
So you can go to ct.gov. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it now. I just want to make sure. Oh. Having problems with my connection.
If you want to just type it into the chat, that would be the easiest.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. I was gonna put the link in there.
Yeah, you can copy paste the link and put it in.
It's just the connection that I have is sort of, okay, good, I got it.
Last call for any questions, and if not, we're gonna wrap up.
I thought there was a question. Well, okay. So this is basically reimbursement for any degree earned at a college in Connecticut where you are making your loan payments, you can then get reimbursed for up to $5,000 a year. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
Have your federal 2023 federal tax form that shows your AGI, your adjusted gross income, the volunteer form, the W-9, the vendor form, your loan history. And it's, we look at every single application and we'll assess. We try to do everything through email because it's easier to keep track of that. So we don't generally like to discuss anything over the phone, so we can have a record. So because we had close to 6,000 emails this year just for the program. A lot of them were repeats, but we like to be able to sort of make a folder and be able to reference back to the conversation. Yeah. Any other questions?
Question about what's the deadline to apply? Is it the end of the year?
The program is, yeah, it's July 1st through December 31st. Now, our portal is going to be open in late July. We're working with, because of legislative changes that occurred in mid-May, we can't just sort of snap our fingers and get all the changes updated in CT Scholar. So we do need we're hoping July 15th, but just keep an eye on our website. It might be closer to the end of July, and then it'll be open until early December. The reason we have to close in early December is that we found we'll have, like this year, we had 250 applications that were incomplete leading up to the June 30th deadline. So now we have a very small window to make those payments. So we'll normally shut it down 3 weeks earlier and then work through all those applications. And then on January 1st, 2026, we start all over again.
Okay,
I'm with Roberta here. Roberta's like, I don't see the website posted. Whatever you copy paste did not go through. I don't see it either.
and make sure that in the chat, it
Thank
says
you.
to everyone instead of just to hosts.
To everyone? Okay.
No, we got it. We got it. It's there.
Okay.
Okay,
It
good.
just came in.
Sorry.
And
My
then there was
apologies.
a question for someone is there a limit for when the degree was received? I earned it 15 years ago, but I'm still making payments.
No,
There's
there's
no
no
limit.
limit.
So if you earned your degree at a Connecticut college 15 years ago, and your income is less than 100,000 as a single person or 150,000 as a married couple, you need to do 50 volunteer hours at a nonprofit. But those are the basic requirements.
Or be a firefighter, EMS, or in the military. And you can also qualify.
Okay.
And when you go to our website, the front page has student loan reimbursement. Right now, that is the hot topic. And within there, we have frequently asked questions. We have a program.
It's like Mike froze.
Oh, I thought it was me.
Information, which we sort of update and then we have a how-to apply guide.
David, there's a question from Maria in the Q&A.
Maria Reyes wants to know the programs from community colleges, do they qualify?
I think the issue is a CDA. If you're not getting a degree, you're getting a child development associate, but it's not it's a credential, not an associate's degree. So
That does qualify, a license or certification, and that would qualify as well. And there's student loans related to that training, then yes.
Okay.
And is there a limit to, let's say they got their degree 15 years
Just
ago?
ask that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't.
that's fine. Yep. Retroactive, you know, you got my degree in the 70s and I'm still somehow paying loans off. Yeah, then you can do that.
That was it. We got all the questions. Mike, thank you so much. A lot of people, a lot of interest. What we could do, Mike, because of that window period, if it's okay with you to have you back on maybe in midway through, maybe 3 or 4 months from now,
Yeah.
just to do another reminder. We don't have to do the whole example, but if we could do a shout out to the program, like a mini, to remind folks that this exists, that'd be wonderful.
Anytime you want me to speak, just let me know.
Thank you, and enjoy your 4th of July week.
Thanks, you as well. Pleasure to meet you all. Bye-bye.
I'll pass it to you and I'll mute myself. Should I interpret for Santa for a break, or are we gonna close it for the day?
Could give a brief update on what's going on in Washington if you want to translate.
Sandra, let me just pause here. Sandra, I'm gonna take translation if that's okay, since I did not give you a break, and I'm gonna add myself.
Okay. So Congress is still trying to pass a budget bill using a process called budget reconciliation that enables them to move something through the U.S. Senate with a simple majority instead of the supermajority needed to prevent a filibuster. The proposal that is moving through Congress would make enormous cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, a whole bunch of other things. The estimates are that the average low-income household would lose about $1,600 worth of services, while families with earnings over $1 million would get about $12,000 in tax breaks. So this is a huge transfer of wealth from low-income people to high-income people. That's what this bill is all about. The one that the president refers to as the big, beautiful bill. There recently was a Republican senator who, when the president threatened to support a primary challenge against him, decided he would just retire instead, but he was going to vote no. The majority has only 3 votes to remain as a majority. So there's still lots of reason for people to be calling senators, urging them to vote no on this budget. Our senators are already hard-nosed on this budget. So it's really, if you know people who live in one of the red states, urge them to make a phone call. This is going to result in rural hospitals closing because of the Medicaid cuts. It's going to hurt a lot of people. There are estimates that, it's every year, or moderates in blue states. I don't know of any don't know of any Democrats besides maybe Senator Fetterman in Pennsylvania who might vote for this bill. So if you know people in Pennsylvania, have them make phone calls. But so this is all moving forward. And it has implications for Connecticut because the state of Connecticut is likely to lose hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion in Medicaid funding. And that will then have implications on the rest of the state budget. We expect that the legislature will go back into a special session this fall to address the hole in the state budget. And then they have to make hard decisions about how much of the missing federal money the state can afford to replace, and whether that's going to result in loss of services for families here in Connecticut. So there's lots to pay attention to there, and if you've got family in other states who you can urge to call their senators, that would be a good thing. So that's about it from Washington. I hope that everybody has a good 4th of July, and we are going to take the 7th off, and we'll be back on July 14th. And I don't remember who our guest is that day, or if we've got one set up yet. Okay, so I think unless anybody has something else that needs to get talked about, we'll wrap up and see you in 2 weeks. Okay.